Hi everyone, welcome to our latest studio kitchen video, and this time we're going to be showing you how to make these really pretty looking and easy lavender Earl Grey cakes. They're absolutely delicious, perfect with a cup of tea. As always, the full recipe can be found at studiokitchen.com.au, but let's get into this. I'll show you how they're made. Okay, these are the ingredients that you're going to need to get ready to get these lavender and Earl Grey cakes made. Once you've got them all assembled, it's a pretty simple process, and the first thing is to make an infusion. So a bit like making a cup of tea, you're going to put some milk into a pan and then dried culinary use lavender. We got that in Tasmania. And then I'm just cutting the tops of some Earl Grey tea bags, and I'm putting that into the pan as well. Now I am keeping a little bit of lavender and a little bit of tea spare for putting on top of the cakes at the end as a little bit of garnish. Pop the pan onto the stove and just bring it to a quick boil, and then take it off, and you're going to put it to one side. We're going to let that cool down and infuse. Before we make the cake, we're going to set our oven to 180 degrees. Now you can cook these in anything. I've got a muffin tin here and I'm just liberally spraying them. You could use any type of tin. You could even make that cake in a big loaf as well. To make the cake batter, I'm going to put some flour into a sieve with baking powder and just sieve them together, add some salt and leave that to one side. Next we're going to add some vanilla, some sugar and some softened butter into a separate bowl. And you could do this on an electric stand mixer if you like, but I thought I would do it by hand just to show you how easy it is. If the butter's nice and soft, it won't be too long before you start getting a nice smooth paste. So keep going with that. You want to eliminate any of the butter lumps and just make it nice and creamy and smooth. And we're trying to eliminate any lumps at all. So just dissolving a little bit of that sugar, and it's a little bit of a workout, but you know, you get a reward at the end of this, so no drama. Once you're happy with the stage you've got, this probably took me about sort of 4 or 5 minutes to get to that stage. It's time to add in our eggs. We've got 3 eggs for this recipe, and we're going to add them in one at a time. You could use a whisk for this as well, but I was just continuing to use the spatula. It is quite a firm spatula, and just mixing in each egg. Now I'm cracking the egg first into a little dish just to make sure there's no bits of shell that are going to go into my batter, and adding them one at a time and just giving it a really good mix. As you add these eggs, your mix is going to get quite loose, but of course we're going to add some flour in at the end there just to thicken it up. So don't worry if you think it's too loose. This is quite a loose batter. Really easy to make that, as you can see. This has only taken me a couple of minutes so far. Time now to add in our flour. That's been sieved with the baking powder and it's got the salt in as well. And we're just going to add that into the bowl and use our spatula just to fold it in gently. You don't want to overwork this batter too much because your cakes can become a little bit tough, but this is really easy. So just folding in that flour and it's thickening up nicely. And now the flavour. So our infusion has been sitting on the side just for a little while there. It has cooled down. You don't want to be adding a hot liquid into your batter, but this has cooled down really quickly and it's got an amazing colour, amazing flavour. You've got that lavender and you've got the tea in there. Add it into the bowl and then just gently fold it. Again, you could use a whisk at this point if you preferred, and it is quite a loose mix, but I'm just giving it a really good mix now before we get it into our cake tins. As you can see, this batter is really easy to make, so it's something you can whip up on the morning if you've got someone coming around for a cup of tea or coffee. Our prepared mould now. Now remember, we sprayed that with the spray grease, and I'm just using 2 spoons. I've got tablespoons here, and I'm just gently putting it into each cavity. Now, probably about a full tablespoon of batter into each cavity. This recipe is going to make 12 little cakes. So fill them up, and then if you've got any mix at the very end, then just distribute it evenly amongst any of the cavities that might look a little bit smaller than the others. So this isn't an exact science. I guess you could get a piping bag if you like and pipe them in nice and neat, but there's no need for these because the batter's quite loose. It does sort of smooth out on top. So I'm just distributing any leftover batter from there, and as you can see, Really easy again so far. Put a tea towel on the bench, give it a tap. The tea towel's just to stop all the noise. And then I've got a bit of paper towel and I'm just wiping up any drips or any bits that have gone on the side before popping it into my oven, which is preheated. And we're going to set a timer, 18 minutes approximately, but of course all ovens are different, so just have a look. But you're looking for something that's golden brown on the outside. Look at that, smell incredible. They're firm to touch, and all we've got to do now is just let them cool down and ice them. After about 5 minutes of them being out, I get a small knife and I just tease the edges around each cake just to make sure that they're going to come out really nice and cleanly. Then I get a rack, I invert the whole thing, and I'm just going to leave that to one side while I make the icing. The icing is really simple to make. Make sure though that your icing sugar is free of any lumps. So I'm just putting that through the sieve again, and you could use pure icing mixture as well, but this is just icing sugar. And once it's sieved, we need to add our liquid. So the liquid is the water. Now you don't want to add too much, otherwise your icing will become too runny. So I'm just adding it in very small quantities at a time, and then just mixing it with my spatula until I get the correct consistency. And you kind of want a consistency that is smooth, but also it does run, but it's not too wet. If you apply this icing too wet onto your cakes, it's just going to run down the side. So you want that little sweet spot where it's kind of really thick and it just drops off your spoon. Now this is an optional extra. I had some purple or some violet colour from a previous bake, and I've just added a drop into the icing. You could leave it white if you want, but I just wanted that nice little violet lavender pastel colour for the icing on top. Demold the cakes and they should come out nice and easily, and turn them over, and that additional weighting with the mould has just kind of flattened them on top a little bit. And now it's just a time to apply the icing. Really simple. I've got 2 teaspoons here. You could use a piping bag if you like, but I thought I would just put it on with a teaspoon. Add some of the icing onto each cake. And before you move on to the next one, just add a little bit of the tea and a little bit of the lavender on top. Now the icing will kind of just run, and it should coat the top of your cake. If it's too loose, it will run down. Obviously if it's too thick, it won't be smooth on top. So getting the consistency right on the icing is really important, but it all tastes the same anyway. This is a really simple little bake, and look at these, they look absolutely amazing. And these really are perfect for a little mid-morning pick-me-up with a cup of tea, just finishing off there with the lavender and the tea. Perfume nicely, look absolutely beautiful. I hope you enjoy making these, really simple. They are delicious as well. So check out studiokitchen.com.au for all the recipes. Oh, and don't forget the cream as well, it's essential. Enjoy.